Clone Wars Season 1 Episode 4 Destroy Malevolence. This is full lore breakdown and retrospective of this episode.
Hello there.
The fortune cookie of the episode is, a plan is only as good as those who see it through. The best one for saving Padme is Anakin, and the best for finding Grievous is of course Obi-Wan. So this quote is really true, but still there was no big plan from our main characters during this rescue mission. The opening narration misses the original soundtrack that almost always is present, and it is just a recap from the previous episode with footage from that exact episode of course. Chronologically, this happens right after the previous episode, Shadow of Malevolence. The first scene reminds us of very first Star Wars shot ever, Tantive V4 escaping the Empire, but here is the Malevolence escaping the Republic. It's really interesting comparison as the Republic is pre-Empire, but the design connections shows that the Republic will eventually become the Empire, with Venators looking like Star Destroyers that Empire uses, and Separatist ships and Malevolence were inspired by Mon Calamari designs, which were later used by Rebels. I'm not saying here that Separatists are all good, there are questionable things on both sides of this conflict of Clone Wars, and it's interesting to start with the bad guys being overpowered by the Republic. This just foreshadows what Republic will eventually become. Plo Koon is with Obi-Wan in this scene, which is of course funny and I don't need to explain why. Anakin mentions Luminara Unduli, Jedi Master from the prequel trilogy, and she'll be a bigger part of the show later, however during this arc she was busy. Grievous is of course back in the episode with his cloak and he looks like from Revenge of the Sith. And Padme is back and she is important part of the episode. Is it convenient that she is here? The last episode foreshadowed it, mentioning that the system battle was happening in is near Naboo, so that foreshadowed that this character will return. And also Palpatine gave Padme information to get her into this exact position, really showing us how he controls both sides of the war. Padme's ship is an H-type Nubian yacht, diplomatic and passenger craft. It's the same one we saw in Attack of the Clones. Padme's voice actor is Catherine Tabor, and she does really great job, sounding like Natalie Portman in prequels. C-3PO is also back, with Anthony Daniels of course returning once again. He plays or voices the character everywhere. They arrive here to make treaty with the banking clan, an important financial organization during this era, and they of course are supporting Confederacy of Independent Systems. Anakin is not very good at hiding his relationship with Padme in front of others when he finds out that she is in danger. When Padme is captured, Anakin clenches his fist, his right prosthetic hand, the one cut off by Dooku in Attack of the Clones. This symbolizes his downfall and connection to dark side. His care for Padme and emotions eventually led Palpatine manipulating him in Revenge of the Sith. Malevolence is a huge ship and thus it has a railway system. This is such a cool part of the episode and I wonder if Death Star later in the Empire era had a similar system in some areas. The rail jets on Malevolence transport ammunition, supplies and troops, and this railway system even has its own conductor who warns people about the gap. He is voiced of course by Matthew Wood, the voice of Grievous and battle droids. People always talk about how D. Bradley Baker, actor that voices clone troopers, is doing a one-man show here, but let's not forget about this man. When Padme is in danger, she can handle a situation on her own, just like in Attack of the Clones. B-1 firefighter droids appear in the hangar. These are special droids that have better armor and carry fire hoses instead of blasters. Anakin once again mentions that spinning is a good trick. Of course we know this is a callback to episode 1. Luminara Unduli returns in person, but it is in hologram version. With Obi-Wan and Anakin on Malevolence, there are some really big similarities to opening of Revenge of the Sith when they go aboard Invisible Hand. There is another special type of droid present and it's B2HA, battle droids equipped with torpedo launchers. Obi-Wan goes to disable hyperdrive. It is similar how he went to disable Death Star shields in New Hope. Grievous greets him with famous line, "Hello there." This is callback to line from episode 4 and of course episode 3, massive Star Wars meme when Kenobi says it to Grievous. Now we know why he said it in the first place. It is interesting to see that Obi-Wan met Grievous before Revenge of the Sith. From their brief interaction on Utapau, it doesn't really contradict the movie, but it could give impression to many of us that they met for the first time in episode 3. Why would Grievous tell him he was trained in Jedi arts by Count Dooku? Would Obi-Wan know that at this point? I mean, sure, but still, this doesn't really contradict anything and is not a big retcon. However, there was one important rule for canon. Anakin was split from Obi-Wan because he should never meet Grievous until Revenge of the Sith. So this rule is clearly established here. Throughout almost entire war, these two never met. They firstly met at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Both only knew each other's reputation. That's why Anakin isn't with Obi-Wan here. It wouldn't make sense continuity-wise. Grievous weirdly uses a blaster in this situation, just like Obi-Wan used one to destroy him. And speaking of blasters, blaster pistol that Padme is using is ELG-3A. R2 is of course reunited here with C-3PO. This iconic duo is back even in this show. Anakin mentions that he used to put droids together like we saw in episode 1. Grievous engages in brief lightsaber duel with Obi-Wan, and it is the first lightsaber duel we see in the show. Grievous' starfighter is called Soulless One. It is really ironic that character like Grievous has a ship that is called like that. Malevolence is destroyed by setting the Navi computer, and that is callback to Han Solo making sure not to fly into a star when setting his jump, so Malevolence crashes while jumping to hyperspace towards this moon. If this episode was directed by Rian Johnson, I guess the scene would look something like that. Though I think there could be some explanation, and we know that Holdo maneuver in The Last Jedi was really hard to pull off, 1 in a billion chance, but let's not talk here about The Last Jedi. Why was there never a new Malevolence? Because this super weapon seemed really effective, so why they never made a second one after this destruction? In Obi-Wan canon comics, Dooku and Grievous wanted to create a large ion cannon, but the production was discovered by the Republic, so the Separatists were never able to build another weapon like Malevolence. We end with this silent shot with all of the characters from the front, and that is callback to original Star Wars. That's it for the breakdown. Let's discuss the episode and rank it on the tier list. Destroy Malevolence wraps up this Malevolence arc, but is it good as a conclusion? I mean, what did I expect from this episode? Of course, we needed to destroy the weapon is the title of the episode, but was it executed well? I think it was fine. What I really liked about this episode is that we actually explore the ship from the inside before its destruction. The choice to put our main characters on the ship is something I really like. This whole railway system is really fascinating. Padme and 3PO's inclusion felt kind of forced. I mean, it could give us some vibes of older movies, but as I mentioned, it seems forced. And Plo Koon, Ahsoka and other clones were completely sidelined for this part, so even if Padme's return was a bit convenient, her chemistry with Anakin felt closer to prequels, but it worked on the other hand, so it was fun banter and of course action. This is just one of those cases when there are too many conveniences for story to happen certain way, but at the same time it's the old school fun of Clone Wars. Big battle, nothing really deep, and yeah, I mean, they make the destruction of Malevolence a really big event, and they even destroy it in this grandiose way, so yeah, it is fun, but nothing really deep, and it doesn't tell us really interesting themes about this conflict, so that's about it. With that, I think Destroy Malevolence belongs in B tier. It's not really bad, it's fun, but I can compare it to better Clone Wars episodes that are exploring themes of this conflict more in depth. That's it, let me know your thoughts about the episode, and if I missed anything in the video. This video takes a lot of my time, so to support me you can like, comment, subscribe or share. I'll see you next time.